Good morning, my friends, or this afternoon, good night, whatever it is, if you're listening or watching later on. Welcome to Friday. Crazy week in the news, probably a crazy week in your personal life. We all have them. That's why I'm here, just to give you just a little dose of some sanity and common sense among the lunacy. And how do we do that? By mocking the hell out of the lunatic libs. Well, there's a big piece of news that happened really from this entire week coming out of Minnesota, and it's this. Here comes the Insurrection Act. Now, you may be thinking, and reasonably so, and you're surrounded by people saying, we don't want the federal government cracking down again. Even if you're a conservative, we don't want the feds cracking down on an American city, and I totally understand that. Until one particular thing I was waiting for and watching for happened in Minnesota yesterday afternoon in Minneapolis. One particular thing. When these little over-emboldened assholes start harassing regular citizens and pulling them over, this actually happened. I'll have the video for you. That's when I said it's time. That was the one I was watching for. It's time. But there were some other incidents to talk about. We'll talk about that as well. And some of the funding. Is there a plan underway, not just the Insurrection Act, which is probably going to happen at least by like Monday, according to Trump. Is there something else they can do? How do they stop the funding, which is obviously funding all of this crap? Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said something last week. I'm going to replay for you. Very interesting about that. And we've got some Friday wisdom. We haven't played Grady Judd yet this week. You know Grady Judd, don't you? Polk County Sheriff in Florida. Every once in a while, I like to just go back to Grady Judd for some common sense wisdom when it comes to these kinds of things, because there's a reason why these kinds of things aren't happening in Florida, and especially not in his county. And we'll wrap up Friday with something that'll make you feel great. Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, dropping the hammer right there in the press room on an activist reporter. Anyway, we'll get to all this. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here with the live stream. Welcome to Friday, as I said. Live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time on X and on YouTube and on Facebook, and audio replay later on, of course. Let's get right to it. Let's get a check-in on Minneapolis, Minnesota last night. How are we doing there?
Here come the toy soldiers.
Sounds great. Make your vacation plans now. You know, I watched that clip and I said, I wonder if there's they have to have a chamber of commerce, right? I mean, obviously, in a big city like that, it's all tied into their business thing, and they try to drum up tourism, summer tourism for Minneapolis. And what are those people doing now? They do this. Like, what are their meetings like? How do they come up? Come to Minnesota. It's beautiful when we're not rioting. Anyway, here's another one. Now, this might have been the incident that convinced you, other people, the rest of the nation, because it is going viral. This is a group of Antifa, rioter, degenerate scumbags, whatever, and they're just outside of the ICE facility in Minneapolis. Now, along with this, they have blocked the road to the facility. They blocked the road, a particular road in Minneapolis. Blocked the road. Now, later on in the clip, I don't know if you hear this, they kind of break it off and they say, we don't have the numbers yet. No, it's not organized at all. This was this scene that's going on. No, like I said, that's probably an incident. That's enough for a lot of people to say, okay, I'm done with this. I've had it. You know, regular, normal citizens in Minneapolis who are like held captive by this crap. They're like, please bring it. Just Insurrection Act. Please crack down on them. Please do it. Believe it or not, that right there wasn't even enough for me to want the Insurrection Act. Now, there was something else. There was something else that I saw yesterday. And I will tell you, I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this to start happening, where I would say, oh, yeah, bring it on. Oh, enough of this. When these little dirtbags start to harass, pull over, as you're about to see, and bother regular citizens, whether they're Minnesotans or not, or new to town, as this guy appears to be a traveler, pull them over and interrogate them. That's where I draw the line. And there are situations, I always try to personalize this. You probably do it too. You see these viral clips, you always wonder, or you see some sort of clip on YouTube or on X, and you're like, what would I do in that situation? What would I do in that road rage situation? I had to stop myself from asking that question when I saw this, because if this happened to me, if I happened to be this guy, I don't like where my brain goes with this, what I would do. So here's a regular dude who rented a Chevy Suburban, a white one, and he got pulled over and had to prove that he's not with ICE or a Fed. Insurrection Act.
Huh? Here you go. Yeah, like I said, I don't have to do this. I'm happy to do this. That's all. We just got to stop this.
So he's got a lot of camera equipment. I think we can say this isn't.
I'm not. I tried to tell the first lady, nobody believes me. That's all I can do is tell you. I already shot. Listen, first of all, I don't have to do any of that, but I'm kind. I respect what you are doing. Yeah, no. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I just don't understand my job, and I don't know how to do it.
Holy God Almighty! Here's the scene, and again, an independent journalist caught that, from the other side of the road. There's a guy that rented, as we get the story, a Chevy Suburban, driving through that part for whatever. I don't know what the reason was. I don't know why anybody would have to go to Minneapolis. Maybe he's got a daughter in college at the time, had to visit her. Maybe he's got a business trip. I don't know. Looked like a family situation. Had to get out of his car that he rented and explain to these assholes that he's not a Fed. Had to justify what he's doing. They searched the car. You heard one of the dirtbags say there, he's got a lot of cameras in the car. And he had to justify, probably doesn't believe it, but he just wants to get out of the situation, which makes it doubly tough because I'm not completely sure, but I think maybe there was a wife involved here. So he doesn't want any more trouble for a mob, whatever it is, bringing more of their dirtbag friends over. He's just saying, respect what you're doing. I've shown you this. This is all I can do. I'm moving on right now. I'll never fault a guy for doing that, ever. He just wants to get out of the situation. The fight you always win is the one you're not involved with, right? So he just wants to move on. The fact that this guy, an ordinary citizen, who I think rented that at the airport, whatever. We know in the story that he rented the Chevy Suburban, had to justify to these low-life dirtbags who and what he was, and they think they have the power to pull him over and search his car. I am so... like I said, there's a reason why I had to stop my mind from going there, because I don't... Be tough to take on an entire mob, but the cretins that I saw in the video there, at least, I don't want to think what I would do to them. But anyway, that's happening. That was the one that I was watching out for. This is the kind of incident I was watching out for. I heard about it from some independent journalists that this kind of stuff was happening. It's first video proof I saw. That's the one for me. Not blocking an ICE facility road. They can handle that on their own. No. Not the throwing of rocks and bottles. ICE can handle that. Pulling over citizens? Insurrection time. Do it. So are we there? What does the president say about that? Well, let's go to Truth Social for this one. Of course, reposted on X. What does the president say about that just yesterday? Not related to the video. If the corrupt politicians in Minnesota don't obey the law, stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking patriots of ICE, well, they try to do their job and institute the Insurrection Act, obviously capitalized, which many presidents have done before me. Now, it was interesting, and I wondered that, and I know that it has been enacted before. I wasn't exactly sure, and I couldn't remember back in the history books exactly how many times. So I asked Grok, and I have it up on the screen here, and let me just go to this while I'm yakking here. And I asked how many times the Insurrection Act has been used in the U.S., as I read it here. Grok says, Super Grok says, the Insurrection Act of 1807, which incorporates earlier statutes, blah, 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 has been involved approximately 30 times in U.S. history. Key historical context. Let's get some early uses included, suppressing rebellions like the Whiskey Rebellion under George Washington. I remember reading about that. During Reconstruction, Grant used it multiple times against the Klan, another group of assholes. Mid-20th century examples, Presidents Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Johnson used it to enforce the Desegregation Act, of course. That's how most of us use it. Most recent, I forgot about this. Most recent invocation of the Insurrection Act was 1992. You know who that was? George H.W. Bush deployed federal troops during the L.A. riots. Excuse me, that wasn't W, that was Dad. During the riots, during the Rodney King verdict. I forgot that actually happened. To kind of squelch the riots out in L.A. before the rooftop Koreans actually took care of business on their own and handled their own community. But that's a topic for a different day. So it has been used before. There's justification for it. And just going by Trump's temperament there and the support he knows he has, I think it's coming, guys. I think the Insurrection Act is coming. Now, what does that mean as far as, squelching all this stuff? I don't know, but it has to happen. And I say that because of this. If they were to lose and let the emboldened assholes, not only on the ground like you saw with those people pulling over regular citizens because they happen to be driving a Chevy Suburban and searching their car, if that's not ridiculous enough, but also the politicians in that area, Jacob Fry, the mayor, more on him in a second, Tim Walz. More importantly, though, all of the bad, evil forces that are funding and organizing all this stuff. If you lose this battle now, you've got to go all the way. Otherwise, you embolden them forever. And this would be a massive win for people that want to tear this country apart. So what do? I thought this was interesting. I had this saved from last week I was going to play for you, but we got busy. This was Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, the money, on an interview last week. And whoever the interviewer was on whatever podcast this is, asked him if there's anything that the Treasury can do. Does this all of a sudden move into a finance department issue because it's obviously being organized and funded by somebody? What he said to me was very interesting, and this would seem to indicate that this is working behind the scenes.
Or at least at arm's length, encouraging criminal activities, criminal protests, criminal obstruction of federal officers, including ICE agents. Is the Treasury looking into this? Is this something that you have authority to crack down on, and what can we expect?
Yes, and yes. So these groups are engaging in this. We have the authority, and we are examining them because when you see these protesters, someone is financing them. There are safe houses that when you see the 300 people with the same laser that they're using to blind DHS agents in courthouses in Portland, someone bought those lasers.
We've seen it before. We knew this during the BLM riots of 2020. We saw all this stuff. Pallets of bricks being dropped off. They were heavily armed. They were organized. They were funded. The paid protesters we all know about, but the No Kings rallies that admitted they're getting paid. It's coming from somebody. So what are you going to do about it? And go back to the second clip I played with the dirtbags, riding up on the chain link fence outside the ICE facility in Minneapolis and blocking that road. What did they say at the end there? We don't have the numbers yet. Organized. Then do something about it. Otherwise, people like this guy wins. This is how this kind of stuff happens. Again, weak men get people killed and only cause chaos. Here's Jacob Fry, the mayor yesterday. Can't understand what's going on. Oh.
Imagine if that city or that town was suddenly invaded by thousands of federal agents that do not share the values that you hold dear.
What values are those? Law and order? Getting the criminals outside your city? Because they love to paint this as they're snatching ordinary citizens. No, they're not. They're getting your useful little fools are blocking the ICE agents from getting violent offenders out of your streets, and those are against your values. I don't know if you happen to catch this, and this doesn't apply to you if you're an audio-only listener, but the police chief was standing right behind him, just kind of like, I thought almost shaking his head. This guy is just, can you imagine being him? He's just, you could tell it on his face. The police chief in Minneapolis is going, oh my God, I can't believe I have to work for this guy. I got 10 more. Just let me get to my pension. Let me retire and get out of here. My God, poor guy. If you think you have a tough job, imagine being a common sense police chief. And that guy seems to be okay so far in Minneapolis. Imagine having to deal with that under that idiot's orders. Oh my God. But why does somebody like Mayor Fry get elected? Well, here's a little case in point. Now, you've got two different things, and you heard Scott Bessent say it there, the Treasury Secretary. You've got big organizations through NGOs, foreign money, organizing and funding all of this crap, right? You've got that. That's the head of the monster. But then down below, You have all the useful idiots for those people that just get in the way, that support it. These are more like the traditional bleeding heart libs, and we just want everybody to get along, and it was so terrible. Like this. This was a Minneapolis City Commission hearing last night. Here's a citizen. Here's how people like Fry get elected.
We are on our own. So what are you going to do about it? I acknowledge the difficulty of a city standing up to the federal government, but that should only inspire our creativity. I would recommend that our snowplows should dump snow to block the roads to the Whipple building and any staging areas to prevent these thugs from launching violent raids on our city.
ICE officers, most of them from a different state, they're away from their homes. Let's not forget about that. They're working overtime to get the actual thugs off your streets, but that guy wants to block them out. Good job. Good job. That's what you got. Well, for some common sense on this, everyone, at least once a week, and I think Friday's a good day to do it. Maybe we should make this a feature. We'll go Fridays with Grady Judd, Polk County Sheriff in Lakeland, Florida. He's got some common sense, and let's get some... Because you never hear this out of cities like Minneapolis or Chicago or L.A. Who are they actually? What are the numbers? How does it break down? For the people that you're actually deporting, how many of them are violent criminals? Almost all of them.
Well, I don't call them undocumented immigrants. I call them illegal immigrants because that's what they are. The reason they're not documented is they're not legal, okay? They're illegal immigrants. 74% of the illegal immigrants that we've detained have had criminal charges against them, okay? The other 26% were riding with them, okay? So when we stop a car, we run a warrants check on everybody in the car. When there's a call for service, we run a warrants check on the victim, the suspect, and all the witnesses, okay? We call that 26% collateral. But 3 out of 4 of them have committed another criminal charge.
And that's just in Florida. That's just in one county, Polk County in Florida. That's what he finds. Did you notice the riots aren't happening in Florida, though? Isn't that interesting? Not really happening too much. They tried in Austin, but Greg Abbott squashed it. Not happening in Alabama. Not happening in New Hampshire. Doesn't seem to be happening in even really Arizona. Happens in cities like Minneapolis, where fools like that are in charge, and the governor will let it get into him. All right, I can leave you on Friday with something going to make you feel great. You know, every once in a while, there's a call for Karoline Leavitt to just kick out a lot of the leftist activist reporters. They're not even journalists. They're just activists, right? To kick them out. I don't want them kicked out. I want them in that room always, because nobody can handle them like her. This was yesterday, and this should make you feel good.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you...
I had my doubts with Karoline Leavitt where she'd be like strong enough for that kind of job and push back on the media. Oh my God, is she great. That is fantastic. But she's wrong. I think he should be sitting in there. I think they should invite more of the leftist journalists in there, more of the biased reporters, more of the activists and the progressives in there. I think they really should, because she can hammer them just like that. God, that was great. She's fantastic. All right, I'm out of here. I got stuff to do. So do you. You got to get into your weekend. Watch out for this. I think it's just reading the tea leaves. It's coming. Insurrection Act time. You may not agree with that, but consider this one thing. What if you were that guy in the Chevy Suburban and you got pulled over not by the police, No. By activists who searched your car to make sure you're not a Fed. That was the turning point for me. That's the one, like I said, that was the one I was looking for. That was if I could see visual evidence of that kind of thing happening, not just rumor. Oh, no. These emboldened little jerks can't get away with that. Anyway, I would look out for that one. I really would. Anyway, and more importantly, though, have a great weekend. Make it a safe weekend. Enjoy your time. Enjoy, if you're watching the NFL playoffs, possibly this weekend. Anything else going on, enjoy it. Don't forget about the audio podcast. Gets posted right after we get off here. And the replay on X and on YouTube and on Facebook. As always, thanks as always for being here. Put your notifications on, your follows, your subscribes, all that junk. More importantly, make it a wicked awesome weekend. I'll talk to you Monday.